Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. I am Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois. If you're joining us on the replay, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learn a little something tonight. That's always my goal. If you are joining me live, please make sure to drop a comment in the box and tell me hello. Let me know you're here. Tonight, I have a very fun multicolor card for you that is actually super easy to make thanks to Stampin' Up! And their two-step stamping stamp sets. So we'll get started on that in just a minute. I also have an alternative card at the end, so make sure you stick around to see what other kind of things you can do with this same layout. It's really good. Same stamp set as well. So I think you'll be surprised by the contrast. So let's see. That's about it. Let's switch views. Let's get started. Okay. So as always, I have linked the full supply list and cardstock measurements in the video description. So you can always check that link in the description to see exactly what supplies I've used and the cardstock measurements. So if you don't catch what I'm talking about while I'm talking about it, you can always use that for reference. You can also use that link to purchase any of the products right from my online store. It'll take you right to a cart. You can check and uncheck whatever you like, add it to your cart, and check out right there. Let's see. And if you are not clicking on that link, any of the products that I use here can be ordered right on my website at stampernan.stampinup.net. Hopefully you can read because I can't talk, right? But even if you never buy a thing from me, I want to help you build your confidence in your creativity. That's what I'm here for. So what we're going to be using tonight, let's get started. We're going to have our stamp set is our Vintage Christmas stamp set, which is a newer set that's from our mini catalog that's good right now through the end of December. So this is very, very fun. And this little bottle here actually coordinates with our vintage bottle punch. Imagine that, which is part of a bundle that's, oh, that's weird, the reflection. Let's look at that side. So this is actually part of a bundle that goes with the Bottled Happiness stamp set that's in our big main catalog. So you can save 10% by buying that stamp set with this punch and then add this stamp set and you'll have two to use with your punch. Bonus. Okay, inks. We've got 4 different color inks tonight and it's still going to be a super simple card to make. So we have Sweet Sorbet, Soft Suede, Shaded Spruce, and Balmy Blue. So the red and green basically came from, the cardstock we're going to be using, and then I wanted a green to go with it. The blue came from the cardstock as well. And gosh darn it, the brown came because I got pine cones. What am I going to do with pine cones, right? So our cardstock and paper we're going to be using tonight is Sweet Sorbet as the base. This is one of our in colors that was new this year. Let me pop back up to the comments because I can see I have a comment. Hello, Lucia. You are joining me live again, 2 weeks in a row. So our Sweet Sorbet is a new in color that we just got this year, starting in May. I love it. It's a really pretty. It's just a bit of a lighter red. So when you're looking for not quite as in-your-face red, this is the perfect one. So this is 8.5 by 5.5 inches. I've scored it at 4 1/4. It's our standard size here in North America, at least in the US. I guess I don't know if Canada uses a different size. I think they're the same as we are. Oh, and I need to grab my trimmer. Because I'm actually going to cut the designer paper right on camera. Ooh, we'll see if I can remember which blade cuts and which blade scores, right? Hello, Penny. I'm so glad you made it live this week. I know you hate to miss it. So the in color paper that we're using, this is the Sweet Sorbet, and it comes in all 5 of the new in colors. So you get 2 different 2-sided designs You get them in all 5 colors, and I think there's 4 sheets of each. So this is a nice, cool polka dot, which some different kind of intensities of the polka dot. And then the other side is this fabulous plaid, which I love, but I felt it was a little too overpowering for this. I wanted a nice, subtle background. So we're going to cut it at 4 inches wide. And this paper comes in a 6x6 pack. So it's just 6 inches by 6 inches. Still great for scrapbooking, great for smaller scrapbooks as well. And it's also great, obviously, for card making. So, and see, Penny is cooking dinner while she's watching. So that's how we multitask, right? It's easy to listen to me do this and cook dinner. So I've got this at 4 inches. So I'll have another little piece to use on another project. And then our card front is 5 1/4, but I'm actually going to cut this at 5 3/4. I'm going to cut really a tiny strip off the bottom. And then I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off. And I'm going to use that for the inside of my card. So that's how you do some double duty there. Okay. So speaking of the inside, we have a piece of basic white that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. We have another piece of basic white for the front, and this is 2 1/2 by 4 inches. I've got another piece of designer paper. This is from the Storybook Gnomes paper that I used last week. So, oh my goodness, Lucia's having breakfast, Penny's cooking dinner. Halfway around the world, right? So this piece is from our Storybook Gnomes designer paper, and it is cut 3/4 of an inch, 1 1/4 inch by 4 inches. And then I've got a tiny piece of balmy blue that is, we'll say 3/4 of an inch by 3, all around there. It might be a little skinnier, but that's okay. All right, let's get, obviously we're using the punch. We're also using our linen thread tonight. And I'm actually going to show you how to tie this double bow that I've done. Super, super easy. And this card actually was an idea that I found that another demonstrator had done. And so I loved the whole layout. It was good. So, and we're also using some mini glue dots, and that's to hold that bow on. All righty. So I did want to also remind everybody, you can find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/StamperNan. I'm StamperNan pretty much everywhere on the internet. And the reason I point that out is because I'm going to be featuring this stamp set all this week on my Facebook page. So if you're looking for more ideas for this, you can find them there. So let's get the inside of the card out of the way, just like usual. I am going to use this cool plaid on the inside. So that'll be super fun. Yes, Lucia is asking about the music festival. So any of you who follow me on Facebook know that I was at a music festival this past weekend. And yes, we had an amazing time. I kept putting in the stories, in my Facebook stories, kind of what we were doing. We had a free ukulele lesson that was super fun. They had a lot of music education classes. That was the only one we made it to. I bought a ukulele quite a few years ago and have played it some, but not enough. And oh my gosh, the guy that taught this lesson he had just retired as a band director. And he was phenomenal, like just walked you through it, pretty basic, step by step. And we went home with a little handout with some songs and things like that. And then, of course, we bought a big ukulele book as well with more songs in it. So, okay, so that's the inside of our card done. You guys are chatty tonight. That's good. Let's see. And see connections being done in the comments. Penny and Lucia, since they're so far different from time, are going to meet for lunch sometime. Okay, so we can just go ahead and put that sweet sorbet polka dot pattern right on top of the card base. And isn't that fun? So it's a nice monochromatic look. You've got a little bit of a frame there, but it's very subtle. So yeah, so this music festival is seriously so amazing. We went in 2019, and then, the world shut down because of COVID. So we did not go back, although I think from what I'm reading on the internet, I think they kind of did have it last year, but we didn't go. So, and now that I am thinking about it, I need another little piece of basic white. So let me see if I have any piece that's good enough for this. That'll work. Sorry, folks. Sometimes I'm not as prepared as I thought. But yeah, so it's called the Mile of Music, and it's literally in this town, Appleton, Wisconsin. And I think it's like the first weekend in August every year. This is the 9th time they've held it. This was Mile 9, they call it. And it's just a mile of the main street in town. And they have all these different venues inside and outside. They have plazas that they'll have stages put up. They have we ended the weekend at the Appleton Beer Factory, and they have a huge stage in the back, and so there was that fabulous thing. Lots of smaller little, restaurants or bars. There's the Hilton Hotel, which is right downtown on this strip, has the main ballroom had something, a smaller, kind of lounge had another act. So we just kept hopping from place to place, seeing different bands and different individuals. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. Okay, so we're going to take our balmy blue, and I get to teach you another little trick too here. So first of all, I don't want a full strength of this because I want a kind of a lighter bottle. So I'm going to stamp off on my grid paper here, see how strong that is. And then I'll go to my white and see we have a much lighter version of that bottle. Much, much lighter. So you can see that kind of, I feel like, would have overpowered the card a little bit. So, and yeah, be careful asking me about the music festival because I could talk for 3 hours about it easily. It's just such an amazing time. Russ and I both love music so, so much. And so we were just totally in our element there. Okay, I'm going to stamp the greeting real quick while I've got the blue out. This is a fun little Christmas set because you've got a little circle here. You can see that says Happy Holidays. You've got a little Merry Christmas to you. And then you've got this Making Spirits Bright. So you've got kind of, it covers a good area of the season, I feel like. Bye, Penny. Okay, so we'll pop that sentiment on. So, and with the photopolymer stamps, you obviously don't have to line it up quite as well on the block because you can see through. And then it's just tone on tone. I'm just going straight balmy blue ink right to balmy blue cardstock. And you can see the ink is a little bit darker, but it still is coordinating. So everything's great. I love that about Stampin' Up. Everything just, the colors all go together, no matter if you're doing ink or cardstock or ribbon or whatever. And the images go together with tools that you have for them, like this bottle and the punch. And the stamp sets too, because that was the one thing when I first started Stampin' Up 20 years ago. People would ask, why can't, I just want this one stamp. Can't I just buy this one stamp? Well, part of the reason that Stampin' Up sells their stamps in sets is because all of these images are the same style and the same type and everything. So they're going to go together. So when you get home, instead of having a bottle stamp and some flower stamps and some words, and then trying to make a project and it doesn't work because they're not the same style or they're not sized correctly for each other, you have everything you need right in one set. And I love that. Okay, so here's the little trick I'm going to teach you, because if I tried to unlock my punch, if I tried to line this bottle up in here, it'd be like, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm being a little silly. I can do it if I wanted to, but it takes a little bit. What you do is you just take a Post-it note. You can take a full-size one or just a flag like this and just stick it there, and you use it as a handle. So now I can just go right in here and I can use my Post-it note to move that around till I've got it in the right place. And another thing I love about our punches is if you just squeeze slightly, it'll hold that cardstock in place so you can see, yep, got that lined up. And then you can just punch it right out. And there you go. So that's one of your little tips. Yeah, I love that one, Lucia, and I forget about it sometimes. So, but I have these right in my drawer, right below my stamping station. So they come in very handy. So now for this card, I actually, well, the demonstrator that I learned it from, we needed more room for those flowers. So we're actually going to cut the neck of this bottle off. Okay. Now let's stamp our flowers. So I'm going to put my bottle over here as kind of a guide to where I need to stamp my flowers. We're going to get that sweet sorbet pad out. We're going to grab our fun flowers. And I will say, this particular stamp set, it was tough for me to figure out for a while how to line up the flowers and the other doodads that went around them. So whenever you have that trouble, you reach out to me, or you search for it on the internet and see how other people have lined it up. Because that's what I had to do. I had to go on the internet and be like, all right, what did you do with it? How did you line up these flowers and the leaves and everything? So right about here, I think actually we're going to angle that. Pretty red flowers. Grab my chamois. And then next I'm going to do the centers, which is, it's hard to see the stamp, so I'll show you on here. It's this whole configuration right here. And it might be easier, oops, there's red ink. So it might be easier for you to see there's the three centers, and then there's 3 pine cones. So you can see that this center is the smallest one. So that's going to go in the smallest flower here. So if you kind of line those centers up, and they're not going to be exact, they're close. And that's pretty much how it's supposed to be, so don't worry about it. These are going to be our soft suede. Okay. And the reason I kind of lined that up first before I did this was that way I kind of knew my block was going to be straight and then they would be lined up. So if that helps you, do it that way instead of just sticking it on your block and then going to your paper. But you could see through it, so you could easily line it up even if you just put it on your block and then relied on your eyeballs. And I don't have the greatest eyesight, so I feel like if I can rely on my eyeballs, most people can. Not everybody, but most people. Okay. And then we have the leaves. And the leaves were the hardest part for me to line up before I started looking at some samples online. And you can see, so it's this spray of leaves. And I'm like, okay, well, how exactly does it fit? And I'm going to tell you, there are several ways that it will fit, that it will work. So don't stress too much about it. But the way I'm going to do it is we're going to tuck this one little leaf right into, I'll show you on here, we're going to tuck it right into that flower, and then it's going to leave a space for that pine cone and kind of go around the other guys. We're just going to curve it in as close as we can. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Put our brown away because we don't want brown leaves. That's not a very festive bouquet. So now we're going to shaded spruce because nothing says Christmas like spruce and red, right? Very Christmassy colors. And there you go. So a very easy way to make multicolored things. And I love that Stampin' Up! Does this with lots of different sets. They call it two-step stamping, but obviously this was more like four-step stamping. But that way you don't have to color the separate images in. You don't have to get markers out and try to color each piece. You don't have to mask anything off. You just stamp each piece separately and ink it up separately, and it all goes together very nicely. Okay, so we're going to just take our, there it is, stamp and seal, a little bit on the back of our bottle, and this is really just going to butt right up to those flowers. And that looks terrible, right? You're like, what in the world? Why would you do that? Well, that bow is just going to cover that, no problem. And in fact, I'm going to put it on our card first. That way I didn't have to put adhesive on when the bow was all lumpy. So, so I'm going to cut a piece of this, probably about 12 or so inches long, maybe 14. We'll say 14. And then I'm going to cut it in half. So I've got two about 7-inch lengths. This particular thread came on this card, so sometimes it has little kinks in it, but it's very easy if you just run it between your nails. It smooths out very easily. So all I'm going to do to make this double bow is I'm putting both of these pieces together. We're going to make the two bunny ears. And then we're just going to tie the knot. I don't even need my special tweezers for this one. And the hardest thing, I got to do that again. The hardest thing is figuring out which thread to pull because you're putting two through. So if you get that kind of good and locked, then you can see, there they are. Just be careful not to pull your tails out. And then you can just adjust it after you've got the loops done. So they're about the same size. There you go. We'll cut that end off so it's about equal. And here's where the glue dots are going to come in. So our glue dots, not sure if you'll be able to see that. They're pretty big right there. And obviously that's bigger than this little knot. So what I'm going to do, we're going to take the pokey end of my take your pick tool, and we're just going to fold that glue dot. We're going to kind of roll it a bit, fold it in on itself. So now it's skinnier. Now we can just pop that right on the back of that bow. Put it right where that bottle meets the flowers. And now you can't even tell, it looks more like a vase or a jar. And you can't even tell that it looks all silly underneath. Okay, the last thing I need to show you is how to make that cool little flagged end. Now we do have some punches that'll make cool ends, and that's great. And sometimes that's just what I needed. I need to trim this off a little. There's a bit of a jagged edge. But the easiest way to do it, if you don't have one of those punches, or maybe you're someplace else crafting and you forgot to bring it, at the end, you're just going to find the center and you're going to make a slit right up the center. Okay? And then you're going to go from each corner right to the edge of that slit. And now you've got the perfect flag little end. That was a little trick that we learned, I believe, at one of our Stampin' Up! Events years ago, and I absolutely loved it. And how cool is that? That, you know, I go to a Stampin' Up! Event, they're teaching me how to use all the cool products, and then they say, oh, by the way, just grab some scissors and do this. So they're not trying to make it hard for us, they're trying to make it easy. And we're just going to pop that along the side, and there you go. So how easy is that? There, 25 minutes that took me, along with my jabberjaw about the music festival. But I did promise you an alternative. Before I get to that, I want to make sure that I tell you about something that's going to happen in September. So right now, let me get that up here. Right now, we've got Celebration that's going through the end of August. And if you're not familiar, Celebration is a special collection of products that are exclusively available through the end of this month, and they are free with a qualifying purchase. So we have products that are available with a $50 order, and we have products that are available with a $100 order and any increment. So if you ordered $150 worth, you could pick 3 of those $50 ones, or you could pick one of the 50s and one of the 100s. So lots of different things. And they just recently added some more from our regular catalog that you can pick free. So even if maybe that original offering wasn't something that interested you, or you got everything you wanted from it, maybe there's some other things you want to add now. So check that out. But coming in September, they have announced their, I think it's called Perfect Partners is what the promotion is called. And basically they are going to be offering exclusive die sets that match some of our existing stamp sets that don't currently have dies, but they'll only be available in September. So one of them is the Get Yeti to Party, which is in the mini catalog. Absolutely love this. Our grandson actually has a big Yeti costume that he wore 2 Halloweens ago, I think. Maybe it was last year, I can't remember. But when Russ found out he was going to be a Yeti, he went and bought the same costume. So Papa was actually a Yeti as well. It was amazing. So I feel like I'm probably going to need that stamp set. But the dies are coming, so you don't have to fussy cut him anymore. And also coming in September is a die set for the Apple Harvest stamp set that's also in the mini catalog. So that's going to be amazing as well for all of you that love the apples, love harvest season. I mean, love coloring. Look at that. That's just going to be great. And there's 4 others from the main catalog that also are getting die sets. One of them, just in time for holiday crafting, is the Trimming the Tree stamp set. So that will have a die set, which is going to be so helpful because look at all those doodads. Super fun. This Piggy birthday, or this birthday piggy, which is one of our favorites as well, dies are coming in September. The Fresh Cut Flowers, which any of you that love floral cards, it's so nice when you're able to just die cut them. And the last one is the Waterfall Canyon. So if you can see, this is a scene builder stamp set where you would stamp, if you see up here, your waterfall in like a light blue, and then you've got the kind of waves of that. You could stamp that in a darker blue, and you have this great scene. So you've got the rocks, you've got trees, just everything. It's beautiful. So dies are coming for that one as well in September. So you don't need to remember all of those because that'll all be on my website. And you can just, pop onto there and see exactly what is available. I cannot find my mouse. There it is. Just wanted to get back here. Okay. All right. So I promised you an alternative, and same exact layout, same exact way we put it together, but completely different look. So here we go. The only thing I changed was the sentiment. I grabbed a different stamp set and went with I Miss You. And I grabbed, this is the same pack of pattern paper. You can tell from that cool plaid. So this is the Parakeet Party. And then I took a Blackberry Bliss piece out of our host pack of paper, the Design a Daydream. and built from there. So this is actually fresh freesia. I cut the neck off of the bottle just like before, added some daffodil centers and that great parakeet party. And then I used the gold trim instead of the linen thread. So lots of fun little things there, but completely different look going from Christmas and then to like a springtime card with that same vintage Christmas set. So lots of cool things you can do with that. Let me pop back up here so I can talk to y'all. Thank you very much, Lucia. Yeah, like I said, I got the idea from another demonstrator, Amy Kenders, and it was just perfect. So I switched a couple of things, but really the layout is identical to hers. It was just, there was no improving on it. So, but as you can see, very, very versatile with, completely different kind of cards going on. So I think I'll be using that layout quite a bit. So I hope that you learned something new tonight. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. You can check that bell also, and you'll get notifications of when I go live or upload any other videos. Again, I am Stamper Nan on Facebook as well. So if you want more ideas for this vintage Christmas stamp set, come on over to Facebook and follow me there, and we can continue giving you great ideas there. Also, I'd love it if you'd share this with your friends, this video, so they can learn a couple of tips as well, just like you did tonight. Until next Monday, I am still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.